When the humans first encountered the galactic Commonwealth, it barely created a stir. Primitive by comparison to the other members of the Commonwealth, they were looked upon with pity as they pathetically struggled to expand and create colonies in their immediate vicinity. Most of the members quickly forgot about the embryonic human republic, while others took an interest in a detached clinical view and studied them in secret, hoping to draw parallels and observations of their own species' development into a spacefaring civilization millennia ago. My species, the Eliani, took a greater interest in the fledgling interstellar polity and watched them with benevolent pride as they took their first steps into the void. We felt an immediate kinship to the humans as they were the most like us in appearance and anatomy of all the other members, with the only real difference being that we still had prehensile tails and maintained an arboreal lifestyle. We viewed them as cousin-kin and children, and had a vested interest in their development as we kept tabs on them from afar. We watched as they bravely flung themselves out into unknown space to explore the great wonders at their fingertips, undeterred by the loss of ships and lives that are inherent in traversing the dangerous void. They seemed to have an endless curiosity about anything and everything, with human scientists seemingly cataloging everything they could see, from the lowliest alien microbes on desolate worlds to traversing dangerous stellar nurseries to find exotic particles. Human explorers would pick a random star and head towards it, just to see what was there. Human traders were found plying the established trade routes, selling their wares and curiosities to any who would buy them. We became enamored with this new species, and after a few years of watching the humans, we decided to open official diplomatic channels and engage in first contact protocols. My sire father was the first appointed ambassador and was instrumental in forming a relationship with our cousin kin. He quickly became their most ardent supporter within our government and would tell me many stories of these humans when I was a youngling. The one that stuck with me the most was when my father was describing how a Zenxian ship filled with younglings on a school class trip was trapped by a subspace rift that suddenly appeared along their course. I could sense the awe and sadness in his voice as he described how dozens of human ships answered the distress call. Scout ships, cargo ships, pleasure craft, science vessels, even pirate ships all responded. He recalled watching the sensor recordings with tears falling down his face as the human ships courageously tried to rescue the younglings, with many being outright destroyed or critically damaged in their attempts. It did not matter to them how many ships were destroyed or damaged. They just kept trying as even more human ships would drop out of null space in response to the distress call and join in the efforts. They finally rescued the 25 Zenxian younglings at the cost of 12 destroyed, dozens of damaged ships, and over 800 human lives lost. You could not but help to be awed by their willingness to sacrifice themselves for the younglings of another alien species. They were undaunted by the dangers, and as soon as one ship was destroyed or critically damaged, another would take its place. It was an inspiring sight to behold, my father said after he finished the story. It was this incident, among other examples of humans coming to the aid of alien worlds and ships in times of calamity and distress, that finally convinced our government to assist the humans in their development. It was strictly forbidden in the Commonwealth Charter to give primitive species technology that they had not yet developed, but our government skirted these restrictions by several means, such as Eliani ships disappearing or being destroyed by random anomalies near Human Republic space, and surreptitiously being recovered by human agents. The Zenxian went even further, and in gratitude for the human sacrifices in saving their younglings, sent an unmarked, stealth courier ship into human space, outfitted with their most advanced technology and a data repository of all their knowledge and technology. In the following 20 cycles, the humans advanced rapidly with access to the technologies and knowledge secretly provided to them, and made a 300-year leap, much to the dismay of the Commonwealth. Hearings and investigations were held at the highest levels, but no proof was ever found that any of the members purposefully uplifted the humans, and the issue was quietly shelved after a few cycles. The Human Republic by this time had greatly expanded in size, and with the infusion of technology were now considered a middle power, and their ships were everywhere engaging in trade, scientific endeavors, and exploration. Our two species became kin friends, and together with the Zengtian we tried in vain to lobby the Commonwealth to grant membership to the Human Republic, which was vehemently denied by a majority of the members. My sire father was livid, but the humans seemed to take no offense, and the human ambassador seemed to take it in stride, remarking, "As long as they keep buying our goods, we could care less what they think of us. It is only the Eliani and the Zengtian who have shown us friendship, and only your opinion that matters to us." Such was the situation in 2172 AD when the Insectoid Empire launched another wave of expansion and encroached on Commonwealth space once again. The insectoids were a hive mind composed of trillions of 1.5-meter-tall wasp analogues with vestigial wings, except for the queens who could still fly. They would periodically expand and engage in short, sharp conflicts with the Commonwealth and other non-aligned interstellar species and seize territory. Since the planets the insectoids preferred were considered unfit for terraforming by most members of the Commonwealth, we would simply withdraw and allow them to have those worlds in the hopes of avoiding a large-scale conflict. It was nigh impossible to engage in diplomacy or negotiations with the insectoids as their worldview was so radically different, and we could not bridge the gap between the individual and the hive mind. The only communication the insectoids ever had with the Commonwealth was just 2 words: give, leave. Failure to do either resulted in combat, and their ships were numerous and exceedingly powerful, especially their hive ships, which made our largest battleships seem like youngling toys in comparison. The Commonwealth, expecting this wave to stop like the previous ones had once the insectoids had the planets they desired, was caught completely off guard when the insectoids penetrated the borders and thrust right into the heart of Commonwealth space. The Commonwealth fleet was caught out of position, and 6,000 insectoid cruisers swarmed out and wreaked havoc. They destroyed every ship they came across, while 60 of their massive hive ships glassed entire worlds trapped behind the lines, wiping out every living thing on those planets without mercy. Within 2 solar days, the entire outlying border sectors of Commonwealth space were devoid of all life and ships, and 8 member species were completely exterminated, at the cost of over 100 billion dead. The Commonwealth fleet was reduced to half of its former strength, and issued a call for the remaining members to reinforce the beleaguered main fleet with our planetary navies. We Eliani and all the other members sent what we could and hoped that it would be enough. The humans, having caught wind of the attack, sent an official government subspace communication with an already signed Treaty of Alliance and Mutual Defense Pact, which the Commonwealth government arrogantly ignored, and the ambassador assigned to the humans did not deign to even respond to their offer of help. That was the first and last attempt by the humans to help the Commonwealth in their time of need. The Commonwealth fleet, reinforced with the additional memberships, now numbered over 2,000 ships of the line and launched a counterattack. Initially, it met with success, and the fleet destroyed over 3,000 insectoid cruisers before the 60 hive ships entered the fray and turned the tide of battle in their favor. Within 2 hours of the arrival of the hive ships, the Commonwealth fleet was reduced to just under 1,000 ships with only an additional 300 insectoid cruisers and 1 hive ship destroyed. The surviving ships of the Commonwealth fleet disengaged from combat and made an orderly withdrawal, heading towards the core worlds and hoping to entice the insectoids into following the fleet. The core worlds had powerful and massive defensive fortifications and planetary defense grids, and the Admiralty planned to lure them into a trap and bracket them between the heavily armed defensive systems and the remaining Commonwealth fleet. The insectoids followed them to the outskirts of the core system the fleet had reformed in and stopped, lingering in the heliopause of the system. The fleet sent out multiple squadrons and attacked the insectoids, trying to elicit a response to the attacks and get them to chase deeper into the system and within the range of the defense systems. After hours of hit-and-run attacks, the insectoids did the one thing the Admiralty did not plan for and entered null space. The insectoids laid in a course and headed towards the untouched periphery of Commonwealth space, where another 4 members resided, including the Eliani. I remember sitting in our den with Sire-Father and Birth-Mother, listening to the holowave continuously broadcasting our government's plea to the Commonwealth to come to our defense. The news organizations had showed us drone sensor recordings of 2 member systems along the insectoid axis of attack and the aftermath. Their home worlds and colonies were glassed, over 20 billion dead, and the insectoid fleet was on a direct trajectory to hit our system next in 5 solar days. Our entire world held its breath as we finally received a response from the chairman of the Commonwealth the next solar day, who looked like a broken being as he avoided looking at the holo recorder, and in a shaking voice read from a prepared statement from the datapad on the desk in front of him. On the advice of my admirals and my cabinet, I regret to inform you that the fleet will not be able to come to your aid at this time. We will detach what remains of the Eliani contingent that you have sent, and allow them to return to defend your system. They will arrive in 6 solar days, and we send them with our hopes and prayers that you will survive. The transmission was abruptly cut off, and another video came on the holowave screen, this time showing the President of the Human Republic sitting in her office with a resolute expression. She gazed into the holo camera as if peering into our terrified souls, and in a voice that seemed to promise both death and salvation, she simply stated, "We are the Republic and we will answer the call. Hold tight, we are coming." As abruptly as the transmission appeared, it ended just as fast. The holowave screen returned to the news studio where the anchors were sitting in quiet shock. Birthmother fainted while Sirefather seemed not to notice and leapt out of his chair and hung from the ceiling branches, hooting and swinging around like a crazed youngling. I just sat there shaking, overwhelmed by the enormity of our impending doom, and could not understand Sirefather's reaction. He finally noticed Birthmother and leapt over to help her. As she sobbed in his arms, he looked at me and seemed to notice my confusion. "You are wondering why I am overjoyed at the prospect of our human friends coming to help us. I know that in school you are taught that humans are a middle power, but have you ever wondered why we have never seen any of their warships in space?" he asked me and Birthmother. I didn't answer, still wondering what a middle power warship could do against the insectoids while Birthmother collected herself. He continued speaking. "I have seen one of their warships, and I have seen the records of their history of warfare against each other. There is not one single species in the Commonwealth that would be able to stand against them despite the technological differences." He paused, considering his next words. "The nice, friendly humans we know have another side to them, a side that no one else has ever seen in a spacefaring civilization. People like the humans tend to destroy themselves before reaching space, and against all odds they made it through the Great Filter." His eyes took on an expression I've never seen before, and he stood up and grabbed me by the arms. "The human ambassador told me a saying after the Commonwealth rejected our membership proposal to grant them entry. The human ambassador stated, 'There is no greater friend and no worse enemy than a human being. God help them if they ever attack us or our allies.' It was not a boast, my youngling. It was a truth that was spoken with a conviction I have never heard before from another sentient being. You know the sacrifices they made to save those 25 Zengtian younglings they did not know that day. Imagine what they would do for their friends and allies." He let go of my arms and embraced me. "Fear not, our friends are on the way, and they will save us all." The conviction in which he uttered these words seemed to reach into my heart, and I felt a peace overcome me. I quietly sobbed tears of hope and joy in his arms, believing for the first time that we might not die after all. For the next 2 solar days we waited for the humans to arrive as we watched the sensor drones record the inexorable march of the insectoid fleet towards our homeworld. Understandably, our government would periodically send inquiries every few hours as to when the Republic fleet would arrive, the only response being a cryptic one-sentence response, "We are coming." Finally, on the 3rd solar day, 1 solar day before the expected insectoid arrival, we received a transmission from the outskirts of our solar system. "We are here." This was followed by a transmission asking our government to grant permission for the Republic fleet to enter. Permission was granted, and every news camera, sensor buoy, and satellite was pointed at the expected coordinates. It felt like time itself was standing still, and the very heart of the world seemed like it stopped beating as billions of Eliani waited for their last hope to drop out of null space. And then it happened. First in small numbers, then dozens, then hundreds of null space exit flashes started popping up all around the near space of Eliania, glittering our sky like new stars even on the daytime side of our world. The holo news channel we were watching had a ticker on the side displaying the number of ships with the estimated classes and tonnage, and the numbers ticked upward so fast it was almost impossible to follow. Sire Father and Birth Mother were hugging each other and crying tears of joy while I stood there in open-mouthed shock at the numbers being displayed on the screen. 3,250, 3,860, 4,789, 5,347, 6,120, 6,456, until the numbers slowed down and finally settled on 6,894 ships. The cameras panned back to take in the enormous fleet while sensor drones did flybys and forwarded the visuals down to every holowave screen on Eliania. There were dozens of massive carriers with thousands of starfighters swarming around them, over 500 battleships, and thousands of cruisers, destroyers, and other ships that were classified as unknown since the scanners couldn't get a reading on them. Another transmission from the fleet came over the holowave screen, showing a human male in a military uniform standing on a massive bridge surrounded by hundreds of humans working on data screens in the background. People of Eliania, we are the Republic Fleet, and we have come to help our friends in their time of need. We honor our commitments, and I promise you that if the insectoids prevail, it will only be because every Republic ship has been destroyed. We are humans, and we do not run. We are here to fight and win. Please listen to all orders of your government and find safety wherever you can. Good fortune to you all. Admiral Thompson out. The transmission ended and returned to the visuals of the fleet, which was already spreading throughout the system in individual task forces centered around the carriers, while the destroyers started dropping hundreds of small items that quickly disappeared from view out of their stern on randomized paths. The news anchors started theorizing on what the Republic had planned, while retired military pundits tried to make sense of the Republic dispositions, especially speculating on the unknown ships that were still defying all attempts at being scanned. This went on for hours, and we ate a feast of our favorite foods for night meal, knowing that it might be our last, despite the hope the humans will save us. One by one, we drifted asleep to the droning of the increasingly urgent news playing in the background. A few hours later, I was awoken by hands gently shaking my shoulders. "It has begun. The insectoids are here," Sire Father stated plainly and went to join Birth Mother in the den. I leapt up and followed him, taking my usual seat in front of the holowave screen. There was a split screen showing live images and video of the Republic and insectoid fleets facing off against each other outside the orbit of the 8th planet, while another screen showed a top-down representation of the battle lines and icons listed in the colors of friendly and enemy ships from a sensor drone positioned above the plane of the ecliptic. On the Republic side, the battle fleets took up their assigned positions, while the unknown ships disappeared into null space in hundreds of flashes of light. The carriers disgorged their thousands of starfighters, while entire battle wings of the massive battleships with their cruiser escorts blasted their engines at full power to get to battle speed and headed to the flanks of the battle lines. Hundreds of destroyers screened the battle lines, swarming in random patterns and ready with their point defense systems and advanced countermeasure suites to protect their bigger brethren and intercept any sudden attacks. The insectoids employed the same tactics they always have, which was simple but effective. A solid formation with all 59 hive ships compacted into a rough sphere to provide mutual fire support, while the insectoid cruisers provide close cover on all sides as a screening force with a tail end of reserves stretching out behind the formation, looking like a medieval knight's fist covered with a mailed glove. In a shocking move, the insectoid fleet sent a transmission to the Republic fleet, which was one word: leave. The Republic responded about a minute later with a video showing a smiling human setting fire to a nest as hundreds of wasps poured out only to be incinerated while a happy jingle played in the background. Underneath the video in standard galactic text were the words, "Trouble with wasps? No problem. Call the Republic fleet to take care of it today." The Republic fleet blasted the video on every frequency, bandwidth, and channel known to the galaxy at large, and their response was also transmitted on every holowave screen on Eliania as well. Both Sire Father and I started laughing uproariously while Birth Mother wrung her hands together in apprehension, looking at us disapprovingly. It seemed like an eternity as the hive mind processed the Republic response. The insectoid fist formation suddenly started accelerating towards the Republic's battle lines and firing their particle beams. The Battle of Eliania had begun.